Here is a no-nonsense guide to using Cursor AI. If you have used ChatGPT or Gemini before, then you may not know where Cursor AI fits in your AI Developer Toolkit. For instance, you would use ChatGPT or Gemini to ask questions, debug problems, or work on any creative tasks. You would use Perplexity AI to get real-time information. If you want to build any UI components, you would use Claude AI or Galileo or V0 to build the UI components. And this is where Cursor fits in. If you want to not just build the UI components, but you also want to refactor your code, learn more about your code base, ask questions to the AI, and chat with your code more importantly, that's where Cursor AI and GitHub Copilot come in play. Now, in this specific video, we're going to focus on Cursor AI because I think it's one of the best tools out there to improve your developer productivity. So what is Cursor AI? Cursor AI is an AI code editor. You can literally just replace your existing editor with Cursor because it completely takes over. And you will see in this specific video how you can think of Cursor AI as your pair programming buddy, ask questions, work on problems together. Now, Cursor AI offers a lot of features that we will take a look at. It literally replaces your existing editor without even having to add any extensions to it. For instance, if you're, let's say, using VS Code, Visual Studio Code, then you could just replace Visual Studio Code and open up Cursor. Now, in order to get started with Cursor, you need to just go ahead and download it as an application. Like I said, no extensions directly as an app. So for instance, if we go to my terminal, if I add cursor dot, it's going to open up this specific project inside of Cursor. So for example, if I do that, then it has opened up that specific project inside of Cursor. This is exactly how Cursor looks like. Now you're going to see a huge overlap between VS Code, that is Visual Studio Code, and Cursor because Cursor has literally forked VS Code and created their own version and added more AI capabilities to it, for instance. Now we can just go ahead and run the development server. Now, as we do that, if we go to the actual application, this allows you to split your expenses with friends. Now I have built this application entirely using Cursor without writing a single line of code, and I will show you how in a later video. So one of the first things you should check out in Cursor is the chat app. Now, if this is closed for you, you could just toggle the AI pane just like this one. You could add context, that is add context at any specific file. So for example, if let's say this is the file, then you can just ask what is this page about, and then Cursor is going to parse the page and then literally tell you what that page is all about. So it is the landing page of the application split, and it told us exactly what the app is all about. So you can ask not just this question, you can ask any questions you want. So for instance, if we edit this and let's add another file, actions, and let's remove this, and we can say what do the actions do. And as we do that, you can also see the two functions in that specific file, actions, which is add expense as well as create group. It has told us exactly what it does. If I don't know, for example, what this SQL statement does, I could just press Command K, or even as I select that specific line of text, we can just click on edit and just say, please explain this code to me. And as I do that, it has added the code comments, for instance, but you can easily just generate any code you want as well. So for example, it has told me this code inserts a new group into the database and returns the ID of the newly created group. It uses the SQL function to execute a SQL query and so on. So let's say if you are not a developer, or even if you're new to programming, this is a really good way for you to understand exactly what the code is doing. And truth be told, it doesn't matter how senior you are, sometimes the code that we see is not particularly clear, and we can definitely ask Cursor to help us with that. We can also get Cursor to fix our mistakes. For instance, in the same function, I'm gonna get rid of this specific type assertion that we had. And here, this is the error that we get. Now we can just copy this and ask AI, fix this, for instance, right? If I do that in the chat, then it's literally has given me the code that I need to add to fix it, for instance. So as I do that, it's the same code here, then it has fixed that error for me. So it allows you to fix any mistakes that you have made as well. So for example, I don't want to just log the group created. I also want to log additional things, for instance. So as I hit log, it has auto-generated additional code that I should probably log as well, such as group members, which is data.members over here. It is already thinking ahead of us. So it will auto-predict exactly what we may type inside our code base, and it is going to tell us exactly what we need to type. Sometimes it's wrong, so we basically correct that, but it's pretty accurate in my opinion. Let's say you're adding completely new functionality. In this case, I want to add another function, and let's say we want to call that function split expense, for example. So I'm gonna create a function here, and let's just call this split expense. The minute I hit tab, it has automatically told me what code I need to add here. So the auto completion is really cool. So for example, as I do this, it's going to select from the expenses, and it has retrieved that from the group ID itself. This just got me the list of expenses, for instance. If I hit tab again, then it has automatically just given me the code for how I need to split the expense. And now I'm not sure what amount needs to be. So what is amount? We can ask questions. It is what is amount, for instance. And as I do that, it has fixed that error, and we can accept that as well. So this has written the code for splitting the expense for me, which is the next functionality, the feature that I want to add to this specific application. Now, obviously this is incorrect. So as I hit tab, it's going to then update the expenses as well as it splits it. For instance, if I want to update my expenses table as well with that information. But again, this code is already there. I could just review the code and modify any instances I want. For example, I don't want to add a type as any. I want it to completely type it, for example. And obviously this is giving me an error. So I'm just going to ask, hey, can you fix it with AI? And it has tried to fix it, but it didn't really work. Sometimes I find that this specific functionality works better if you just ask in chat. So for example, if I say, just like we saw there, AI fix in chat, that is going to work way better compared to what we see here. So for example, if I hit apply, and then you can accept it here, or we can accept it here as well. And now it has basically typed it here. So it has updated the type assertion. If I hit tab, it has deleted the comment there. And now it has also fixed the type for us as well. One of the powerful features of Cursor is if you, let's say, want to add not just one specific function, but let's say you want to add a bit more. So for example, we could just press Command Shift I, and this is going to open up the composer. Here we can add any files that we want, for example. So let's say I want to add the actions file, or I want to add the expense page file as well. And here I can give it any command I want. Now let's say Cursor does not know specific instructions for how to create and update a database, for instance. I could just use the add property, which will allow me to add any of these specific properties here. So for example, the coolest one is docs. So let's say docs. I could just say, okay, please reference the NeonDB docs from Cursor. So I can just say referencing the NeonDB docs. We can say, tell me how much each friend owns in a group. For example, it needs to be owns in a group, for example. We can say create a new page inside the app folder and show me the list in table format, for example. If this is the specific prompt that I have given, the Cursor is going to get to work. Cursor is going to look and figure out the NeonDB documentation. For example, as you can see, it is generating not just actions, that is server actions, which is the latest app with app router Next.js, but it has also generated the page as well, loop through all of it, and also retrieving the information that we want to. Now, as you can see, it has retrieved specific information. And not just that, it has also told me exactly what I need to do. Now, let's see if I hit accept all, then it is going to just apply those changes. This is a suggested code. Now, if I don't like something, I can ask Cursor to fix it. But if I'm happy with it, then I can just accept all. And now I can close the composer. And now you can see Group O's route has been created with all of this code. Now Cursor has literally just generated all of this code for us. As you saw, if we hit apply, we can also just apply the code and it is going to apply all the changes inside of our code base. We could ask questions and debug further to really figure out what Cursor has done and then accordingly tweak the code as we like as well. But as you can see, the docs feature is really powerful. If I click on create new and select composer, again, if I can also just go ahead and add a new doc and add a new link completely here for the docs that the cursor needs to understand so that it can just read that specific documentation, exactly what you would do, and generate the code for you as well. So that is pretty awesome. Now there's one more ad that we could do, which is the code base ad, which is pretty great because you could just ask questions for the entire code base, or you can just say scan the entire code base and tell me the number of pages I have. This is a very basic question, but it has scanned the code base and it has basically given me a list of all the pages that my application has, for instance, over here. So we can ask any questions that we want about the code base that we might not necessarily know right away, but it will give us information because we have asked it. If you enjoyed watching this specific video, then definitely check out my video on AI SaaS, building an AI SaaS from the ground up, which converts video into a blog post. If you enjoyed this specific video, it is definitely the next video that you should check out because you will learn a lot. All right, thanks for watching. Bye for now.